Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we will reassure you that football is fixable. Alright, Sess.
Alright.
Yeah, we're not with Dan today.
Thank God. Yeah, we're back to the, what do we call ourselves? The OG.
The OG, the OGs, the originals, yeah. But I mean, yeah, we don't need him anyway.
We were paying him for nothing, really.
Yeah, I know. If anything, he kind of just held us back. He kind of would butt in when we were in the middle of talking, you know.
With you, especially.
Yeah, so shut up, Dan.
Yeah. Shut up, Dan. God.
Just know your place. Right, so, today. So, it's been an interesting last week or so. We've seen Everton picking up some points, scoring goals.
Oh, yes.
Am I not mistaken, Sess? You
yes,
were saying that under Sean Dyche, you know, we have to be defensive because our strikers are afraid to score goals. They're too scared to score goals.
Yeah.
You've now got David Moyes, and you're scoring for free, aren't you? You're just like getting up there. You've won how many? Let me get the results up a minute.
Yeah. So we won 3 games, haven't we?
3 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
And results-wise, what have we got? So Moyes came in January.
Yeah.
Do you remember what his first game was?
We lost the first game.
So you lost 1-0 to Villa.
Yeah.
But that's no shame. Villa, you know, have a really good couple of seasons. They're looking really good. They're in the Champions League and so on.
Yeah.
Then you go and play Spurs. You beat them 3-2.
Yeah.
Scoring 3 goals against Spurs.
Goals. Yeah.
I know it's not hard, but then you beat Brighton 1-0.
Yeah.
And that's away. And then you beat Leicester 4-0. You're scoring for fun.
We're scoring for fun. However, the reason why I'm not getting too excited is because the games we won were against Spurs, who have the worst form at the moment in the Prem.
Gone for relegation.
Yeah. Brighton, who have lost something like 7 of their last 8 games or something. They're on a horrible run.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And Leicester, who are probably the second worst team in the Prem at the moment. So the reason I'm not getting too excited is because they're teams that we would hope to beat in the form that they're in.
Yeah.
However, I think I mentioned in after the latest game, which one was that? The Leicester game.
Yeah.
I think I wrote on our group text that Moisey must be one of the best managers in the world to get Beto to score 2 goals.
Well, that's it. Exactly. You've been quite critical of Beto and Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
So, you know, just to win 4-0 is, I mean, you take that any time, wouldn't you? That 4-0 win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm chuffed with it, and I think those 3 games they've made us feel like so much more comfortable in where we are. We're still 15th or 16th or something, but there's a big gap now.
Yeah, and it's got to be good for confidence, momentum as well. A bit of fresh air, kind of impetus into the club and all that.
But you got to remember, it's that you normally get the manager boost unless you're Man United, and we did play against 3 of the worst form teams in the league. So
fair point.
Yeah, I don't want to get too excited, but it is good to see that the Beto and, you know, those kind of players, they are scoring more.
Yeah, and they can do it. That's the thing, isn't it? So it just proves that they can. So.
We saw an Everton game recently. You saw how slow Beto was.
I know, he started running, but the speed didn't change.
No, yeah, his running and jogging were the same.
You were like, look at it.
Yeah, like the centre-back or left-back or whatever was just like jogging past him.
Almost like looking, watching him as he passed.
Yeah.
You're quite slow.
Yeah, I just can't understand how, like, he's a big guy. You can tell he's got an athletic physique. It's not like he's overweight or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, there's just no movement in that.
Yeah, just no speed change at all.
Yeah.
Well, talking about how Moyes must be a genius. If it, you know, we've said along to we've got huge respect for David Moyes and what he's been able to do with. Often throughout his career, he's at clubs with kind of limited resources. He doesn't have loads of money to spend. What he did at Everton the first time. Yeah, you know, we were at school watching, and obviously you were supporting Everton at that time. And they, as you've said, one of the best of the rest, and how he'd be able to get so much out of so little, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
At the flip side, we've got Pep Guardiola. Okay.
Yeah.
Often coined as the genius. Match of the Day have a little clip of Pep in the kind of, you know, the beginning music theme.
The intro.
The intro. And when Pep appears, you've got When Pep appears, you've got all of the kind of formulas and things like that going off around his head to kind of demonstrate he's a genius. I've got some quotes here as well from well-known, influential people.
God, you hate him. You're like Dan whenever Rashford comes into the conversation.
It's so true. But the thing is, it's fine, but everyone calls him a genius, and that's the thing. So Gary Neville obviously hosts his football podcast with a load of the big pundits as well. So he said, the greatest manager of all time, in amongst his quote for Pep Guardiola. Gary Lineker, footballing genius. So if Pep is a genius, and everyone's saying he is, why can't he adapt his team and the tactics instead of needing to spend? So he's just spent 180 something million pounds in the January transfer window. Can't he adapt the side? I mean, we fixed Man City a month or so ago, one of our previous episodes, and you've lost Rodri, your kind of anchor in the midfield, he's won the Ballon d'Or. He's a brilliant player. Probably, he is considered the best in the world.
Yeah. Okay,
you might need to adapt your team then. Don't just keep playing all this front foot risky football if you haven't got someone to clear it all up. But no, we're just going to go and spend 180 odd million and that kind of thing. Yeah. I just think it's a bit of a joke. He's spent more money than any other manager in history.
Yeah, and I understand what you mean. The one thing I would say, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, because we've said before that we like managers that have faced certain challenges. So with Klopp, for example, when he was manager of Dortmund, he was, I think they were in the relegation zone. They were low down anyway, and he managed to get them to win 2 Bundesliga titles, Champions League final. He took over Liverpool with limited resources again. They finished 6th, I think.
Yeah, they were going through a transition, weren't they?
Yeah, and he won every trophy with them. So we've always liked the... and with Fergie as well, he was manager of Aberdeen, and he won the Champions League, whatever it was called at the time.
Yeah, European Cup.
Yeah, whereas with Pep, he's always been given teams that were expected to challenge the title without him. And with him, he's managed to win the titles.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would say that is kind of like on his side is that this is the first time we've seen him struggle. And sure, he spent loads, but similarly, Messi... we think of as, basically the greatest of all time, what most people would say is the greatest of all time. He's never really played for a team that doesn't challenge for the title without him, and yet we still call him the greatest of all time. So I don't think we should necessarily hold it against him that he's able to spend all this money. He is able to spend the money, but... both Dan and I support teams that we've proven money doesn't buy you success.
That's so true.
We've done the absolute opposite of that. And he's done very well in managing for almost a decade now. He's seen not necessarily generations of players, but he has seen transitions and been able to bring in new players and made sure, like Fergie did, just not to get bigger than the squad. Bigger than the club. So I think he's done decently there.
Yeah.
But I do know what you mean, that the way he's able to fix things is a way that no one
else has the opportunity to do that. And that's the thing. I just want to make this clear. I am not saying he's a bad manager. I agree with everything you just said. Yeah. But everyone keeps saying he's a genius. And when people say he's the best manager, he may well be a genius, by the way. And so many other managers are as well. You might say Fergie was, Wenger was, Jose Mourinho, in different ways. But... they haven't... I say Mourinho, actually. He's second on this list. So Pep spent more money. So before the January transfer window, he spent 2.6 billion euros. I haven't got it in pounds. You can do the work. Figure that out. Jose Mourinho's second on this list, 1.91 billion euros.
Yeah.
So
you do have to remember with those things, though, that... it comes to inflation and stuff.
Yeah, of course,
Because Fergie was around since 1986. He's probably not spent anywhere near as much as probably the top 5, top 6 or something. And
but it's not adjusted for inflation. Yeah, that's a fair point.
But he's able to just go out and go, I said this before, didn't I? Like, the top teams are able to go, God, we need another player. Let's spend 80 million.
Yeah, no other team can do that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I just feel, maybe we need a proper episode to debate this, like how good actually is Pep in that sense. In recent weeks, though, so just saying, Arsenal beat Man City 5-1.
Yeah, that was a while ago. We're over it now.
We humbled them, you might say. Miles Lewis-Skelly as well. He scored. He's been so good this season.
As an 18-year-old, he is a brave guy.
The character he's got, and then to do the Haaland celebration.
Yeah.
After what Haaland said to him at the Etihad earlier in the season, he said who the,
go on, say
you know what I'm going to say. Who are you, basically, but with a couple of not so nice words in there.
Yeah.
And so Miles, it's a bit of...
Housery.
Yes, housery. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
bit of Housley back, and there was nothing offensive or anything, was it? He just did the kind of yoga. Those of you who,
if it's offensive, it's only offensive to Haaland, which I don't
it's not
really
offensive
mind.
though, is it?
No.
So if we're playing, we obviously played Sunday League, we played football for years and years and years. If we ever do a celebration, your traditional, yours was a bit of the Alan Shearer celebration.
Well, what did I do?
You used to do, but instead of where Shearer does the one arm up, you do both arms. Whenever you score, you're natural.
That's true. Yeah.
I've got this image of all the times over the 20 years or whatever, watching you score goals. It would be both arms up, running like
the double Shearer. I'm going to call it.
Yeah. You know, like the emoji of the two hands, like saying you're like that. That's you. They stole that from you.
That's a good point. Yeah, they stole it from me. Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody else nicked that, would you find that offensive?
No, not at all. And the thing is, if it is offensive to Haaland, the kind of things Haaland's done in the Premier League alone, he can't moan, can he? He can't go, but ref, that really hurt my feelings.
Exactly.
Sure, I said, stay humble, and I mocked them in the last game, but, all of a sudden now.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So the reason we're mentioning this, by the way, is because in the news, since Miles Lewis-Skelly has done that, it's been kind of announced that the Premier League are going to be cracking down on... Let me get the wording right. So, Premier League players' celebrations could lead to punishment if they are deemed critical or mocking, apparently. So we've got some of the celebrations have been very funny and entertaining, but there's a line, said Tony Scholes, the Premier League's chief football officer. He says, once it crosses over into mockery or criticism, then we would need to deal with it.
That means that they're going to decide that line. How are they going to decide that? They're not even able to get the referees to decide on objective decisions.
They're not able to get the offside line right.
Yeah.
VAR. But if you think, what is really kind of, and I'm so glad to see, we've seen Gary Lineker mention it on the Restless Football podcast. Yeah. And I think you said you heard Ian Wright or something talk about it as well, didn't you? So it's what I'm glad to see these kind of influential characters be talking about this, is that Jamie Vardy, for example, has been doing this stuff for years. He winds every team. As soon as he scores, he'll wind the team up. And it's seen as kind of Jamie Vardy's having a party kind of thing. It was made a big kind of, song and dance and joke about the whole thing. Foden winds teams up as well. You had the Neil Maupay and Maddison and all that. Yeah. This happens all the time. It's a bit of banter in football, basically. Miles Lewis-Skelly, young, sort of 18-year-old black boy, and suddenly the media go absolutely crazy with it.
Yeah.
So that's going to kind of be our topic for today. We're going to be looking at discrimination in football. Right, so today it's quite it's an important topic, isn't it, Sess?
It is,
It's been brought about really by the Miles Lewis-Skelly debacle, the celebration
The word debacle doesn't sound right in your accent.
Debacle.
Yeah. That's weird. Anyway, yes, that is true. And I'd like to bring up a non-footballing situation.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Because, as we've always said, I'm more worldly, I'm more...
Boring.
I just know more about the world.
Oh, okay.
I enjoy more things in life.
You follow the cricket and stuff, don't you?
The cricket, yeah, exactly. And the rugby, yeah. But this is about the boxing, actually.
Okay.
So a number of years ago, I can't remember how long ago, I brought up this fact to you, or this theory, I suppose I should say.
Okay.
I'm an AJ fan in boxing, and for some reason in boxing, it's very weird. I've spoken to a number of people about when we talk about our favourite boxers and stuff, but for some reason in boxing, your favourite has to be the one that you think is the best. In football, I could say I'm an Everton fan, but no one ever goes, "Oh, you think Everton are the best, do you?" No Everton fan thinks Everton is the best.
To the point where I've actually been asked, so what team does Seth support? And I say Everton. Why does he support Everton? And I don't know how to... So it's just, well, why does that matter?
Yeah, well, otherwise it'll be an empty stadium everywhere apart from in Man City. But with AJ, I'd say I'm an AJ fan, and I've heard people say, why are you an AJ fan? He's not the best. I know he's not the best. I don't think he was the best heavyweight. I don't think he was the best British heavyweight. And I don't think he's the third best British heavyweight right now. But I'm an AJ fan. Okay. And I noticed for over a number of years that whatever AJ did or said, he was lambasted in a way that Tyson Fury wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah. And AJ is someone, for the non-boxers out there, both AJ and Fury have been world champions. And they never fought each other, but they were the two British heavyweight hopes for the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
And AJ did everything the right way. He's always looked after himself. He speaks very nicely on interviews, speaks very highly of his opponents. He gets along with a lot of his opponents. He only talks back to his opponents during the face-offs if they don't give him respect. He always says that. But if they give him respect, he'll give respect back. He's done a lot for charity. He's done a lot of things like Black Lives Matter. He's just generally, I would say, if you have a child and you want them to look up to a boxer, AJ is perfect role model. Whereas with Tyson Fury, I like his housery. I like the way that he, he gets people to watch.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about
the
him.
personality side of it.
Yeah. However, he constantly lies. He claims he just drives an old Passat, 2007 Passat, when he was caught buying 2 electric cars for like 200 grand each or something. He claimed he lived in like a 3-bedroom small house when in fact he had this humongous mansion with a giant car park with his logo on it. He claimed he was going to give all $7 million of his fight against Wilder to charity, not giving anything to charity. There's so much that he does badly. And he had his mental health issues and stuff, but in that time, he was horrendous to his wife, to women in general. He's caught doing drugs. If you watch his documentary, he's terrible towards his wife. And sure, he's got these mental health problems. He's got bipolar and all this stuff.
That doesn't excuse it, though.
It doesn't excuse it at all.
And that's not the sort of role model you want, is it?
No, not at all. And yet, AJ was always the one that got lambasted. And I theorized to you, at that time, that I think it's got to do with the fact that AJ is black.
Yeah.
And soon after that, I theorized to you that Saka gets the same kind of treatment versus Foden. Because it must have been 3-4 years ago or something. I said to you that I feel like Saka gets... it doesn't matter how well he does, how consistent he is, it's always a matter of, but Foden's better.
Everyone keeps doing it, and this is all over social media, so those listeners might know that. They would have seen this, I'm sure, anyway. But those who aren't on social media, always you get, who would you rather have? And Saka's in that kind of 2 or 3 that you'll be comparing it to.
Yeah.
And he's often berated. He's often just absolutely slaughtered. Oh, he shouldn't even be considered. He's not world class. Yeah. And Foden is. And then Foden goes on a dip of form, and then suddenly he's taken out, and they'll bring in Grealish.
It was Grealish after that for about a year or 2.
Yeah.
And now...
Most recently, we've got Cole Palmer, which everyone loves Cole Palmer. He's brilliant. And it's not... We're not against him. I'm not against him or anything like that. For England, I love to see him do well. But now he's been compared to Saka. And he's only been on the kind of the first team scene, really, for about a season and a half.
And that's the thing. Like, we're not taking anything away from Foden, Grealish or Palmer. We're actually not going to say anything in this episode about who's better, Saka or one of them. What we're trying to bring up is the whole idea. It's never like who's better, Foden or Grealish or anything like that. It's always a comparison with Saka. And it's almost as though they're trying to find someone better than Saka. And the only correlation I theorized was that Saka was black. And it's almost as though they're trying to find, let's try and find a white English player to be better than Saka. Yeah,
and I don't know if it's one of those, like suggested thinking or whatever it is, when you hear something or someone puts an idea in your head and then you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And maybe that could explain it. And I don't think there's a way to definitively prove.
No.
And we both hope it's not anything to do with discrimination or racism or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you do just raise that question. And the Miles Lewis-Skelly celebration gate situation raises that question again, doesn't it? It's kind of like, is this actually come down to a race thing? Because Jamie Vardy's been doing these celebrations for years and everyone just laughs, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Miles Lewis-Skelly does it and it's, oh, no, you can't do that. And it's just, Gary Lineker mentioned it, so I'm glad he did, and I can back him on this. I think it might be down to a hint of racism with it.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to fix. And this is probably our most important episode ever, to be honest, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. And I mean, one thing in defense of certain people that might think Foden or whatever are better, there are going to be Man City and Chelsea fans that genuinely will support Foden or Grealish or Palmer or whatever because they're players. So that's fair enough.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, you would stand up for your players. So that's perfectly fine. And we're not saying anyone that thinks Palmer is better than Saka or Foden is better than Saka are racist. That's not what we're saying.
And those people who have tuned out now because they're just all woke or they're,
Yeah.
whatever. That's not what we're saying. So those of you who are still listening, thank you, because that is not what we're saying at all.
Yeah. You 10 people, you carry on listening.
Yeah. No, exactly.
I genuinely believe that the undertone, I think, for the general, like the wider public, there's got to be some form of racism in there. And that's because I think I remember in Men in Black, taking us back to the 90s probably.
Classics,
there was one scene where Will Smith said, why don't you just tell the world, like, people are smart. And Tommy Lee Jones, or Kay, said, a person is smart, but people are dumb. And I think that's true, because it doesn't matter how smart you are, but if you are in amongst everyone else...
You follow the crowd.
Exactly, yeah.
So, good put. This is like philosophy again. It
really is, actually.
Wise words, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Kay. There was famously the stuff about Sterling going on for, 5-10 years, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of it, I agree. When there was stuff about Sterling buying a house compared to Foden buying a house, so all of a sudden, it's a bad thing for Sterling, but not a bad thing for Foden. And then it turns out Sterling's buying a house actually for his mum.
For his mum, yeah.
Yeah, but, either way, who cares? I think a lot of that is it's the undertones. So in the media, a lot of the times they grab the headlines, if it's the Daily Mail or something like that, because they say these controversial things. And we know they're legitimately, there's a lot of them that are racist. They're actually racist.
There actually are some.
Yeah. And most of the newspapers they're the most popular ones. I think The Sun is the most popular newspaper in the UK.
Yeah.
So if you have that as your biggest media outlet, in America it's Fox. You've got no hope.
Yeah.
If that's the majority of your news outlet, then it's going to have racist undertones. But we see so many YouTube clips and stuff trying to compare Saka with all of these other players that all happen to be white all the time. And if you for the last 5-6 years, if you're constantly comparing multiple players to Saka, maybe you should start thinking Saka's quite consistent actually.
Yeah, and that's the thing for England as well, for the club and country. His goals and assists, he has an impact, and so obviously he's been injured for a large chunk of this season. But before that, he was just consistent. Practically every game, you get something out of him. Even
in the Euros just gone, he was playing well. But then there was this talk, we need Palmer to play, so let's play him instead of Saka.
Yeah,
where did that come from?
Yeah, let's put him on the right instead of Saka. But Saka's one of our only decent performers at some point.
On the left, where Foden was playing, was the weak spot, and yet people were trying to find the space, take Saka out in order to play Palmer.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
And that's the thing, we like we said, we really like Palmer, but why would you take out... so this is the thing. So I don't know if it's because you plant that... I say you planted this theory. It's not all on you at all. But it does feel... And this is where the Miles Lewis Skelly thing... So about the celebrations then. So is that a form of is that racist undertone with the Premier League announcement in the sense that they'd be looking at this now? Is there...
Yeah. I wonder
is
if
Lineker onto something there?
I wonder if it is, because I don't know if it's... you can't really call out one specific person as being racist on this.
No, absolutely not, no.
However, it might just be a subconscious thing that the people making the decisions, they all of a sudden took a bit more offence to it, maybe because they saw someone of colour. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not them going, right, let's try and do everything we can to discriminate against black people.
No.
It could just be something, they might not even realise that they're doing it. They might notice it because of that. It's a similar thing, I think, to if I make fun of Pep, you would join in. If I make fun of Arteta, you might get defensive. Even though it might be the same... exactly, yeah. It might be the same thing that I say about both of them, and yet you could join in with one and take offence with the other, just completely subconsciously, because you feel defensive on one and not the other.
Yeah.
And it might be something like that. So as soon as these people in charge see a black person doing something that they might take offence to, then maybe just subconsciously they have a certain way of feeling about that,
Yeah, and it's so difficult to... it's not really proving this. We're not trying to say that people are racist or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a very kind of sensitive topic, and it's not a nice topic to talk about. But I think the idea of this episode really is we just want to bring it back to the forefront of people's minds again to sort of think about what you're saying, and let's just look at this from a kind of more objective way. If a young 18-year-old black boy is celebrating, Why is it suddenly a big deal? Why is everyone causing a fuss over it? Why is everyone comparing players to Saka? Why does it have to be Cole Palmer, who's only just broken on the scene? These certain things, we should be wondering what the reasons are, sort of in our own consciousness. Like, why are we should be conscious about the stuff we're saying. Some people genuinely might harbour kind of those darker thoughts, and they might genuinely not care about that. Like, that's a shame, and that's part of society, sadly. And hopefully, we can, through education, that's something which will improve in the future.
Yeah.
But for now, we need to look at how we fix that in football. So that's what we're going to be getting onto. But before that, want to lighten the mood slightly.
Okay.
Talking about Saka, Jamie O'Hara. We haven't done one of these in a while.
That's true.
I think it's time for O'Hara's O'Howlers.
Do you want some? I'll give it ya. I'm double smart. I've got a GCSE. What do you want to bet? It's Jamie O'Hara's O'Howlers.
For those of you that don't know Jamie O'Hara, him and Jason Cundy have a segment in TalkSport, and they're supposed to be like the light-hearted...
They're the clowns, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Really,
and so it's supposed to be controversial. However, they genuinely are quite stupid when it comes to footballing decisions.
Some of the opinions and things they come out with is a bit... I know they're trying to attract attention sometimes, but so this wasn't actually on the TalkSport where Jamie O'Hara said this. So that's the other thing. This actually
that's
wasn't...
even worse.
Yeah.
It's actually his choices.
This is actually his genuine opinion. So he did say this season that I think Saka would get into the Real Madrid starting 11. If he was there, he'd probably get to play over Rodrigo. Now, okay, our listeners might be going, that's crazy, he wouldn't be, or what, all that kind of stuff. Fair enough. But this is Jamie O'Hara's thought. Also this season, Bukayo Saka isn't world class. He's a great player and a very good team. But I look at guys like Cole Palmer and Lamine Yamal, who in my opinion are world class players. They're a level above Saka.
Oh, wow.
It's as simple as that. So he said this a few weeks apart, actually. This is
embarrassing.
That's a proper O'Howler,
I just don't understand this Cole Palmer train. It doesn't make sense to me. He's a brilliant player. He's great.
He's a real talent. He's still young though. He's still got a lot to prove.
And he's on brilliant form. It's almost like that Vardy, the Leicester winning season where he was so high on confidence that he shot from like 40 yards out against Liverpool.
Yeah.
So Palmer is on this, like, he's riding a wave right now where he's thinking it doesn't matter how badly Chelsea are playing, he's still able to play well.
Although he's saying that, we might have to go up to we've got a northern correspondent waiting for us in a minute.
Yeah.
But this season, I'm not sure Cole Palmer's kept up the kind of heights of that wave, if you like. Cole Palmer might have died down a bit. Should we get an opinion from we've got a northern correspondent who's a Chelsea fan. Coops up there, up north.
So I'm not in the north. I'm in the Midlands. Well, I'm not in the Midlands actually. I'm in the southwest. But I'm assuming that I am supposed to be in the Midlands, which is not in the north. And this should be relatively evident by the fact that the other name for the Midlands is indeed Mercia. Mercia, in its own right, means borderlands. Borderlands implies that it's somewhere between that thing and that thing. However, you wanted me to talk about Cole Palmer, and yeah, Cole Palmer's a good player. That's all you need to know. But yeah, no, you were talking about celebrations, weren't you? And people getting told off for doing celebrations, and I do agree that that's a very silly thing indeed. In fact, it became a silly thing even from the days where they decided that it would be immoral for footballers to take their shirts off. Apparently that's worth a booking. We don't live in Saudi Arabia. What's the problem with that? I mean, okay, fair enough. If they were all Neville Southall, then maybe there would be a case for a booking. But these days footballers are relatively well turned out people. I don't really see the purpose in booking them for that.
Thanks, Coops, for that very northern correspondence. I don't think he realises that Stoke really is the north.
Yeah, it's a very northern point of view as well, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
Could barely understand him with that thick accent.
Well, people don't realise that we actually used a system to de-northify his accent.
Yeah, it was like an AI thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, he sounds a little bit normal, should we say?
Yeah. Hopefully everyone understood it anyway.
Yeah.
Right, it is a serious topic, as we were saying. So I think it's about time we got on with the fix assess.
Let's do it.
Right then, so it's a very difficult topic. It's one that society hasn't cracked yet, but we're going to give it our best shot, aren't we, Sess?
Absolutely. And I think first thing I'm going to say is that it's very clear what needs to happen in terms of punishment. I mentioned this was it the last episode? Maybe the one before. There's so many times when it comes to punishment of someone who's genuinely been found to be guilty of something. So, if we find someone to have said a racist chant, for example, that's it. You're banned for a year. Oh, no.
You see this in the news and stuff, don't you? Yeah, that's right. They've been banned for a year now.
Yeah.
What's that going to do? That's not solving the problem, is it?
You remember was it a Spurs fan that kicked a goalkeeper in the back? Was it this season or last season? Do you remember that from the stands? He was standing on top of the advertising thing, and he kicked a goalkeeper in the back.
Was it it might have been in the North London derby, actually. And Arsenal were over by the sidelines, and they kicked like David Raya or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
could have been Ramsdale, actually.
Or Ramsdale, maybe.
Yeah, and he got banned. What was it, for 2 years? That is mental.
It's just ridiculous.
He might not have gone for 2 years anyway. What does that taught
That
him?
might have been his first and only ever game he planned to go to.
Yeah.
How is that a clear deterrent against it happening again?
Surely any team would say, I don't want that kind of fan associated with us at all. We have enough fans around the place that are genuinely good people and who want to just go and see the game.
Yeah.
In which case, you are banned for life. I don't understand why it's so difficult to say that.
Yeah. I think there is... And one of my fixes is going to be around the education. So I'm kind of integrating it with, you might have a bit more to say yet. But I think that if you say banned for life, it's a very kind of, that's it, you're done kind of thing. Is there any motivation to try and improve that person, to try and become more well-rounded, more informed, more respectful of other people? Could almost like a community service or educational program that, people go into to try and understand that what they're doing is wrong. And then there might be you're welcome back to the stadium in so many years' time, much longer. But, if you get a chance to kind of reform your kind of views and that kind of stuff, what's the kind of, why would you want to do that if you don't see any reason why kind of thing?
But with that though, wouldn't you have to go down the route of criminal charges in order to get them to do forms of community service or anything? I don't think clubs have any power to tell you to go do community service or do certain sessions or something.
Well, they're banned for life unless they take part in a new scheme that clubs run, which is about educating people against racism and more sort of encouraging diversity and equality and that kind of thing. So they're welcome back. You're allowed to buy more tickets in future if you take part in this scheme that we've got, where we go and have meetings and there's collaboration and you get specialists in to help them understand that this is not acceptable.
That's quite a good idea actually, because you have a feeling towards the whole kick it out scheme. I don't know what
you started on it. It's ridiculous, and I know that Wilfried Zaha, didn't he? He used to when they do the and they do it a few times a season now, and it's pointless. Where all the players go down on their knees at the start of the game, don't they? The referee blows his whistle, everyone bows down on their knees, and it's no room for racism. Oh, it's a no room for racism weekend. Okay, let's remember that, and off we go with the game. Is that an impact? Is that having any effect? It's not solving.
And the beginning of Champions League, no to racism.
There we go then. We've ticked that box.
Yeah.
And this is why, so Wilfried Zaha used to stand up and say it's just not having any impact. He doesn't feel that it's actually doing anything. It makes it look like the league's doing something.
Yeah.
So that, I'm going to fix part of the problem by getting rid of that for a start. That's not having any effect at all.
Yes, you heard it here. A white man says the no to racism has to be banned.
That sounds awful, but what we're going to replace it with, we've already got one suggestion there.
Yeah.
So, banning in terms of the punishment, but also it's about the educating. And I know kind of from the background of being a teacher, but education's so important. So we're from Bath, right? Mm-hmm. Which in the southwest, and it's a bit of a bubble, right?
Yeah.
In terms of culturally, sort of how diverse, it's predominantly white, there's large elements of middle class and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at school, there are very few ethnic minorities.
I mean, I was one of the most ethnically diverse in our 1,000-pupil school. And if I'm one of the most diverse, then it's not a diverse culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was it. So it was hardly any... So growing up in that environment, and then when I first got my first teaching job in that environment as well, almost all of my classrooms, there might be one student from an ethnic minority or something, like per class or something like that. So we're talking like 95% of the groups were white, essentially, white British and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Since then, I've moved into other areas, so into Bristol and things like that, and it's a much more diverse place. And it's been so sort of liberating, it's been informative, learning to work with people of different religions and backgrounds and stuff like that, to try and teach students of different, ethnicities and that kind of thing. And I've learned, I think I've become more rounded because of it.
Yeah.
It's helped me learn more about, I didn't know so much about like different holidays that they celebrate and things like that. And it's kind of great to see. And you kind of feel like I've become more informed and more educated on these things as well. And the more you work with people from diverse backgrounds, the more you understand different points of view, and that's what society's about.
Yeah, and it's less, for me, it's less education, it's more relationships, because
Exactly,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter how much you learn about another religion, until you actually meet and talk to someone from that religion, you don't really know it.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you, in Bath, I didn't really take into account other cultures and religions and stuff, because we never really saw it too much. But working in Bristol, my office, my company has a prayer room, and I never even considered that. They've got a specific area because in the Islamic culture, there's you pray a lot more during the day, so they have a specific prayer room.
That's such a good
never
point.
had that in Bath.
The old school I used to teach in, and now currently where I work as well, both have prayer rooms too. So that's something which didn't have in my old job in Bath, for example. So little details like that, and you learn more. And like you say, it's about relationships. So I think the more we work with each other, from everyone from any background, we'll soon realise that it doesn't make a difference. Stop treating people differently. Yeah. And people need to be it's education in a sense, because they need to learn this.
Yeah.
So stop staying in your bubbles, those of you that are, which probably aren't you guys listening, to be fair.
That's true, yeah.
We're probably preaching
this is
to
the only bubble
converted.
that you should stay in. Don't go anywhere else. Just use us.
Definitely keep to our bubble.
Yeah. But actually, that is a very good point, because I think it's quite easy to fuel the flames of other, actual genuine racists and people who have these harmful thoughts. It's very easy to fuel that, because if you're a YouTuber and you have a popular football related YouTube channel, and you start all of a sudden comparing Saka to people like Foden and Grealish and stuff that we were saying before, think about what you're doing, because you might not necessarily be racist or have any of these racist thoughts. You might be genuinely innocent. You might be a City fan that genuinely wants to support Foden.
No negative intentions or anything like that. Yeah.
But just think about what you're actually doing. Is what you're doing actually a good thing? Rashford, for example, he's had a lot of criticism, and they've been genuine. And it's not because you're comparing Rashford with another white guy. But with Saka's been doing something amazingly for years, but keeps on getting compared to white people. So however innocent you may be, just think about what your message might be sending out to the world.
Yeah. And when it comes to celebrations, I have to agree with our northern correspondent that just allow it. If football is meant to be entertaining, I have to say, when Lewis Skelly scored that goal against Man City, my first thought was, great, we're now 3-1 up, and the relief, I cheered and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then when he did that celebration, my first reaction was just joy. It was just kind of, and I laughed at it. And it's just funny, I didn't feel malice, take that, City fans, right? I just loved it. I thought, that's brilliant to see a young lad having a bit of a laugh. There was nothing offensive, he wasn't offending or anything. It was just...
I don't think any City fans took offence to it. I think City fans mostly are saying, really? Like, do we have to have bans? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. So I think this goes down to the regulators as well. So there's a fix there as well. They're getting it wrong. The whole no room for racism thing, they need to rethink how they're kind of showing that they really support diversity, which the Premier League does some great stuff as well. And loads of clubs are doing some great stuff. Obviously, the Premier League is now much more diverse. Yeah. Coops actually mentioned this on one of his previous episodes he came on, that one of the good things about football these days, especially in the Premier League, it's a more diverse league. Yeah. And long may that continue.
Absolutely.
All right, well, there we go. Another one fixed, and that's obviously a really important episode there. So, I think we've done our good deed for this week.
Yeah, we won't have any James's Juiceless Tips for fantasy football, because there's no games this weekend. It's next weekend, isn't it?
Oh, yes, FA Cup.
When Everton beats Liverpool. What can I say?
Oh, well, I might be cheering on Everton there, So.
Oh, yeah, you will, yeah. I wouldn't mind if Salah scores a couple. It's just Everton needs to score more.
Yeah, a Salah hat-trick, but Everton win 4-3.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I can captain Salah then.
Yeah.
Right, well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you'd like to join our league, please do. The Fantasy Football League, that is. 8B8E1L is the code. Join in. We've had a few more join this week, by the way, Sess. I don't know if you noticed. I think we're on 43 or something now.
Wow, the more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier. So do join. And otherwise, thanks for listening. It's goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.